So we're going to try another conversation here on something that is difficult, I think.
Yes, because we had talked about this for a little bit before, and I was giving you some absolute, no, that's wrong, and that was hard.
Right.
It's hard
It's
to
hard
hear.
for someone to tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
And maybe
so
you can convince me that I am wrong.
well, and that's the whole point, is why does that even exist? So what that is you identified it before. So the topic is us versus them.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of, we talked a little bit about, that's a sophist idea, that I know that us is right. I'm right. You're wrong, clearly. So that identifies the us them problem.
Well, that's I'm right and you're wrong. That's a me and you thing, which is a different problem, I think.
Is it different?
Yeah, because us versus them is very broad. It's ideologically you can have a you group, like the group that you believe that you are completely 100% aligned with, and the others that are not aligned with you, and that's them, you know? I mean, me and you,
And are
that's
them wrong then?
if you and your people are right, if us is right, then it leads one to believe that them are wrong.
Okay.
If there's a right, there's a
So, and
wrong.
how is
Yeah.
that different than if I'm right and you're wrong?
Well, because we're
Us and them.
individuals, we can separate ourselves from a group. If you say I'm right and you're wrong, uh, however, we are right and y'all are wrong are different. That's different. It's instead of targeting one individual with their wrongness, it's lumping a whole group of people into it. All of them are wrong. They've all got the wrong ideas.
Okay.
You know? I don't know.
So what's the valid end to that for all of them? Unfortunately, the valid end is the Holocaust.
The Holocaust. What can we give some context to what we're talking about?
Sure.
Because I mean, you don't just jump to the Holocaust, or.
But that's a them. That is a valid them. What's other them? So you're going to try to point out what the other thems are in our current day.
Yeah.
So
Well,
who are some of the us's and thems we deal with?
a year and a half ago, it was Republicans and Democrats, or the left and the right.
Progressives and conservatives.
Yeah.
Socialists and
Capitalists. Yeah.
So there was an election, and at the election there was a polarized side, one side and the other.
Very, very
and
polarized.
One side was right, the other side was wrong, no matter what side you sat on.
Yeah.
So that's the polarization.
Yeah. So that's today. It's immigration and deportation, and whether you are pro deporting people out of this country if they're here illegally, or anti deporting people here out of this country if they're here illegally.
I don't even and that's the name of the protest that's there. I don't think they really care.
What do you mean?
They don't know anyone. Those who are against the deportation,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily against deportation. They don't know anyone that's being deported. It's not their family. They don't have any connection to them. They're just saying These are the people we want to protect. They're more against the administration than they are for people staying in the country.
Yeah. Did you hear the word that you said a bunch of times in that whole sentence?
Okay. What was it?
They,
I didn't hear it.
there. You
Them.
were
Them. Because
classifying
I'm not part of that
all of the
group.
people, right? All of them together.
Excellent. See, and that's the whole thing. It's a them, because us, we don't mind if people are deported,
Right.
and we don't mind if the administration does what the administration does. But if you are a them and you care what the administration does, and you don't want a king, and you don't, because no King's Day is passed and no one's talked about kings anymore, but they're talking about deportation in the same line. It didn't matter if it was no king or illegal immigrants.
Right. So
They're still them, and I'm still us.
yeah, you're quite quite sure that any individual at a protest is protesting the idea of deportation and not protecting their neighbors.
I'm more certain of the fact, okay, and us and them, my clear understanding of them is it's an S word. They're not very smart. They're following an order that they don't even know why. So they're operating stupidly.
I see. Yeah, and what leads you to that conclusion?
What do you do to that conclusion? It's clearly an opinion. It's a statement.
Did you come up with that yourself? Was it given to you in a dream, or did someone tell you that that's what they were doing?
Because well, do they believe they're doing something different? That's what we need to discuss. I don't know if they believe they're doing something different, or if it's even possible they're doing something different, other than following the crowd, trying to be a part of the crowd.
Yeah, and that's a them thing. Like those people can't possibly know why they're there. If I was there, I would know why I'm there, but they don't. They don't know. If Republicans were protesting, then they would know the reasons why they were there. They'd have all of the right all the right reasons. But since they are not us, so they're stupid.
Right. So specifically in this realm, it's clearly the Democrats protesting. It's not the Republicans. Do Republicans protest? Has there been a Republican protest?
Would January 6th be a Republican? A conservative
Okay, let's
thing when they all
because
came
million
together
people showed up.
and they were
Million people
all
showed up on the
they were all there
on the
because
mall
their
to
leader.
listen to the president speak.
Yeah.
Well, because he was going to speak. That's all. It show them that there is some solidarity in this movement. So million people showed up. And from one side of the story, that's probably a good example, because did all of the protesters go there to cause an insurrection, to overthrow the government?
Mm-hmm.
Were there a million people there to overthrow the government? That's the story that's being proposed.
Yeah.
Is that why they were there?
I don't believe that that's
I don't
why
know.
they're there. No.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. Do we know anyone that was there?
Yeah, I've got a sister that was there.
Okay.
She was there far enough back, didn't get close to the Capitol. but
It wasn't there
she was
early
there.
enough to be at the front, had to be in the back.
Right. Or wasn't excited enough to fight the crowd of 1 million people to get to the front. So just
Yeah.
stayed on the outskirts
Yeah, and we
of the whole
know
event.
what can happen. I mean, we understand scientifically what can happen when you get into a group and the excitement
Group
is
mentality.
building. I think it's different than group mentality. I mean, I said group and that made you think group
It is.
mentality, but I think what I'm talking about is the phenomenon of being in a group of people who are all excited about whatever they're doing, and things get more exciting because they're all together. It wouldn't be as exciting if everyone had noise canceling headphones on and blindfolds. They're not affected by the synergy of the group. Um,
Okay.
but that what people, I mean, that never happens. You never see a group of people all, well, maybe you do now because of cell phones. Like you could have 1,000 people in one area all looking at their phones, and there's not a group synergy there. But when people are chanting
Mm.
and talking to each other and getting really excited, then things can get out of hand pretty easy.
Out of hand, out of control. The control can shift to external manipulation.
Yeah, outside of yourself. You're there, and if you don't have a good strong, like if you don't have a good idea of, I am not going to let myself do anything stupid today, if you haven't gone into it thinking that specifically, then you can easily get pulled into whatever activity everyone's
A,
participating in.
a stupid activity. Okay.
So
Hmm.
that was,
So we're not here to discuss exactly who's right and who's wrong in a specific situation, but to parse out what happens, or maybe how to think about these issues as they come up, because they're going to come up again and again.
right, right. And so my issue with us versus them is that there is no them and there is no us. It's 1,000 people, 1,000 individuals together with their own individual reasons why they would be doing one thing or another. And some of them maybe are there to impress a girl. I just watched The Majestic earlier, and
Okay.
this guy played by, the mask guy,
I
the
for
Truman Show. What is his name?
I forgot the mask guy.
Jim
Oh,
Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey's
He was
in
in the
The
Majestic.
Majestic. He's the main character. He at the end, toward the end, he's brought into court because he attended a communist rally or something like that. But the only reason he was there was
Okay.
because he was impressing a girl. He had no ties with the Communist Party. Absolutely not. He just was a horny young man that wanted.
He happened to sign up at the rally though,
He was
or
there
be there.
because
He
he
was on
was following a girl around.
camera.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's one reason out of a billion reasons why someone might be at a protest. But another reason might be that they really do fear for the life or the safety of their close friend who happens to be, here legally, but
Okay. Well, and with that, I just feel like saying something about that. None of them have close friends, because if you did, you would not take you and your close friend right up next to the ICE, right up next to the police.
so
You would leave the place instead of causing attention to be dragged to that area.
yeah, you wouldn't take you and your close friend, but you would take you. You would want to
To
make the
impede
group
them,
bigger.
to
You would
do
want to
the
show the media how big of a group you have, how many people are against this. If you feel strongly about it,
Mm-hmm.
you tell your friend to stay home and say, I will be there on behalf of you. I will
Okay.
let one more body be counted in this group of anti whatever activity I disagree with. So your face,
And you
I'm
leave
looking
your
at your face
protected
on
party
this
behind.
television, on this computer screen. Your face tells me that you don't believe that at all. There could be no possible way that somebody could have genuine
Any of them
intention.
have any friend. They don't have any. I believe they have no friends that are illegal aliens. It's not even. It's not even possible because they would not go out. I've got friends that are illegal aliens. That went through the process. I guess you might say that.
Okay.
So that came here and then had to apply for the appropriate things. There's no way that I'm going to bring them up to anybody or try to go and protest for them. We're going to try to stay as quiet as possible
Okay.
with that. The only reason they're going to make a show is because they want to make a political show. It's not that there's a number of people. If 21 million illegal aliens came to the country, um, gosh, what am I trying to say? The majority of them that are going to survive in the country still are the ones that are not going to be around a community that's going to make a show. There are no safe aliens in Minnesota.
Okay.
There are plenty of safe aliens probably in Nebraska. Nebraska's never going to make any scene. You can be safe there, or maybe even in a warmer climate in New Mexico. You're not going to have any issues.
Okay. So let me see if I understand what you're saying. If someone genuinely wanted to stay in the United States and that was their primary purpose, they would just shut up and stay home. But the reason, because these people are not shutting up and staying home, shows that that's not their primary purpose. Their primary purpose is to be a thorn in the side of the system, is to be the squeaky wheel. That's their purpose. They want eyes
Right.
on me. Everyone look at me. That's why they're there, not because they actually, their primary purpose. Maybe they do care about their friends that are here that have been through the process and maybe are a little bit late on their green card application or whatever, however it goes. Maybe that is one of their purposes, but it's not their primary purpose. Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
Do I have it right?
Yeah, they may know someone. Right. And in my view of them, they don't know anybody. Um, but maybe they do. So it's possible, it's potential that they do know someone and they have a valid reason to step up and say, I know these 5 people, and these 5 people, I'm not going to tell you where they are, but I'm here to combat you so that you don't go close to where they are. Like the birds the killdeer birds. They're a little bird that lays their eggs on the ground. And then whenever someone comes close to where the eggs are, they go and act like they're wounded and try to lead you away from where the nest is.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll leave the nest long enough to get you to go a different direction, and then they'll circle around and warm their eggs again.
Mm-hmm.
So looking like they're wounded so that you'll follow them and decoy away from where you're at. So maybe there are people trying to decoy. Hmm. So that's just the issue that's going on now. We're not going to come to an answer on that, and I don't really feel damaged by that or upset by that even. But when you get closer to who you are, to an us them thing, if we happen to be, everything that we do is either because we do it and they don't do it. So we have disagreements, a disagreement of a group or of a people or of an individual. those disagreements, and how do you treat disagreements? Compromise is a word.
Ideally, both sides would seek first to understand the other side. But if
Uh-huh.
both sides don't, the one thinking person has to do that. Us has to start thinking and seek first to understand them. Why are they doing? What are their motives? What are their values? What do they value so much that makes them want this? Whatever they're doing.
Okay. And you'd enter that, I mean, trying to understand. So if you listen to them, listening to them, trying to understand, getting your mind into where they are. No, it's just empathy comes up. Is empathy a way to do it? From what you know about empathy?
Wasn't it Charlie Kirk that said empathy isn't a real thing?
Right. That's what I'm pointing to. The world says empathy. Walk a mile in their shoes so that you understand. See if you can sit on their side,
Mm-hmm.
sit in their chair, and see the world from that. But yeah, I empathy is, and it was Charlie Kirk that said it's false. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That's really not what you need to do. That makes you soft. Just allowing everything everyone else does, saying certainly you have a good reason for it, but that eliminates persuasion. I'm not really sure. I don't know Charlie's full uh, argument on that.
Yeah, because it's just a clip that was shared around, is all it was.
Yeah, but the full argument, I would suppose, is you have to be able to reason together, logic something through, and that's part of understanding. Is seek to understand before being understood, but being understood is still part of that whole communication.
Yeah. I'm reading a book that describes some scientific research around disagreement, and one thing that was observed, I suppose that's the word. One thing that was shown by the research was once you say to yourself, I disagree with what they're saying, then that makes your brain stop considering everything else that follows whatever they're saying. As soon as you say, I disagree, nothing can convince you of anything else. Like from anything else that they say, nothing can convince you otherwise that you disagree.
Right, which is clear. Just in you saying that, I didn't hear any word that you said because I already know
Uh-huh.
what I think, and now I didn't hear that, but I was trying to hear it.
You were trying, but you
So what I tried to hear,
couldn't because your brain was like, that's
it was
the
already
end.
shut
It's
off.
not.
It was already shut off,
Yeah.
is because I know that. What do I know? Whatever I know is me, is us, and whatever you're talking about from that book is a them book trying to. And that's just an example. I don't know that I really feel that strongly about it. So I did hear that you listen to, your brain tends to turn off what you're hearing because you're forming up how to make your next argument. It strengthens you when you say, I disagree, you're strengthened by it. And then I disagree for these reasons. And I'm thinking about my reasons for disagreeing rather than trying to accept what's going on out there,
Understand more.
trying to hear, to understand
Perceive.
more of it.
Yeah.
But persuasion has to be a part of it somewhere. So you do need to have a persuasive argument that you're formulating or lining up, or have thought enough about it continually that it's an easy direction, that this is the direction you're going to go. And clearly the direction I wanted to go with that was identifying persuasion. We were talking about disagreements. Disagreements require persuasion, I think.
Yeah.
In the process somewhere. They require understanding as well. They require allowance, letting them do that. I don't believe, well, what you said earlier, or what I said maybe, empathy. They don't necessarily require empathy. They require understanding. And I also don't think they require compromise, because I don't believe that I believe in compromise.
Mm-hmm.
I think compromise, you're automatically losing. It's the win-lose situation. You don't want to lose something. You both have to win. Getting to a win-win is seeking better understanding and better persuasion. Is that how that has to work?
Yeah, if someone is persuaded, then they have had a change of mind. That they are persuaded. If you are persuaded, someone has given you information that has made you reconsider your position, and now you are of a different position than you were before. I think persuasion is a valid part of an argument that reaches a conclusion of agreement.
Okay. On the object at hand, then, if you happen to be here in an illegal status, the persuasion that the government, the administration is trying to do, they'll say, if you'll self-report, we'll give you $1,000. We'll give you some incentive to be persuaded to leave the country on your own and then come back through the proper channels. So there's that offer, and there's been plenty of people that have taken that offer. But if they don't take that offer, then they get to the point that they have to be identified. If they are identified, then they're tracked down by the authorities, and they're no longer persuaded. They are detained. They're made to comply, coerced into compliance to the deportation rule.
Yeah.
Those people that are against that. So that's the factual legal side of it. What is lacking in understanding? Then I don't know that there's any lack in understanding from these two sides.
It sounds like you're saying that you understand fully the position of them.
Right. That there's not anything that if I tell them what you believe they're doing it for, they would all agree. Yeah. They clearly want ICE out. They clearly don't want federal intrusion. They clearly want to protect their neighbors. They want to keep their cities exactly the way they are now. They want to keep all of the, all of the people there that would be detained and deported. They want to keep them there. And the understanding the other side is trying to give out is, well, these people are criminals, and they're all these bad things they've done. We're going to get rid of them. All the bad people is who we're targeting. And everyone else, they've always said it's the other people that hang around them. So if someone isn't doing anything bad or wrong, they're not necessarily going to target and go try to find that person. But if he happens to be with the other people, if they're congregating together, they'll take the group together. And if you can't identify that if you don't have a driver's license or a valid reason to be in the country, a passport, a visa, whatever those things are, a green card, then you're not going to, and you're questioned about it, you can't provide it, then clearly you're against the law. The law does have to take precedence, and that's the understanding side of the law side. So why would a protester go against that? If someone doesn't have a green card, they're not here legally. How do you have a persuasive point to say they're here illegally and the law says to deport them? Don't deport them.
Had you asked any of them what they?
Well, I'm asking you right now.
Well, I'm not anti.
You don't necessarily have that.
I'm not
feeling.
anti-deportation. I'm pro leave well enough alone, but certainly the criminals, they should. Let's get rid of the criminals, but we need to have an overhaul of our prison system anyway. So may as well overhaul every single thing. But I can't. The problem I'm seeing here is that you're still believing that all of them have the same mind. But we know that they don't. Like, protester A is not of the same mind of protester B. Like, you have very different motives for being anywhere.
Not very different. You may have different motives. I mean, the guy just following a girl, clearly,
if you zoom way
he doesn't
out
care
on the
what the thing
spectrum, then this point and this point are super close together. But if you zoom in, they're miles apart. So, I mean, it depends on how far away from the picture you are. Like, the Earth from 1 billion miles away is a smooth ball, but if you're standing on it, there's a 2,000 mile high mountain over there, or it's not miles,
right?
2,000 feet, mountain over there. And I certainly can't rub my hand over that. So the motives are vastly different when you are right next to them. I don't think that you have been right next to them. I challenge you to be right next to them sometime.
I did. We mentioned it a bit ago.
We did.
The protesters, and I talked with one, and one said, I did just come from work. And I said, well, what does your sign mean? That's misinformation, disinformation. It's understanding, seeking to understand. I don't have the same agreement of what she was talking about as the challenges she had with it was a no kings rally.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that there's going to be a king? I mean, that's a discussion you can have. But people are going from their own bias, their own brain. And this is what I believe. I believe that there's these things going on that are wrong. I believe that, one thing they're saying is that ICE is out there just doxing everybody. ICE is being doxed. They're just detaining everybody and asking everyone, if you got brown skin, I'm going to ask you if you have your ID. But if you have your ID, does it matter if they ask you or not? I watch some of these sovereign citizen things that even though they have IDs, they're saying, I'm not going to show you. I don't have to.
Yeah.
But sovereign citizens are just a different animal. They have a different understanding. And whether it's right or wrong, I mean, it's against law. So law has the right to operate outside of it.
What's against the law?
To travel without a registration on your vehicle.
But is it against the law to walk around without proof of citizenship?
No.
But you may still be arrested.
Detained. Arrested. Yeah. Well,
and
you're going to have to sit here until we can figure out if
arrested in the literal
really
definition of it. If something is in motion, then it suddenly stops because of an outside force. It has been arrested, right? So arrested and detained mean the same thing, except
they're the same thing.
Except arrested. Yeah, I don't know. Literally, we could talk about that, but that's
right. There's no crime. There doesn't have to be a crime. That's why they use the word detained, because I didn't do anything wrong. No, but we're detaining you until we can identify if you're valid.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think,
we got to check it through the system. When I saw one video that they just had to get the response back from the system that this is a valid driver's license.
yeah.
Well, yes, it is. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah. I think if I were to protest against that, that would be one facet of the whole system that I would be protesting against is guilty unless proven innocent. That's how it's operating.
Okay. So that's what they're talking about, due process. They believe that
Well, due process
what's
is a
happening.
subjective term too, because due process on one side might mean leave well enough alone, and the other side would mean stop everything until you can prove that it's okay.
No, well, who's going to stop it? Stop everything until you can prove it's okay. Who's the one stopping it?
The powers that be, I don't know.
The police. That's detaining though, so that's not right.
Yeah, that's the I don't agree with the detain everyone that you suspect is illegal until you can prove that they're not illegal. I think that's too far of an overreach.
See,
I
and
think
then
it should
you
be
roll this.
prove they're not allowed first, What? Yeah, take Rusty out. Go out, Rusty.
You have the voter idea too of having your ID in order to vote.
Yeah.
That would give everyone a chance to show their ID appropriately. And if you can't show your ID, then you can't vote, but maybe you can be questioned as to whether you're here legally or not. If you come to the voter polls and ICE happens to be standing there and you don't have an ID and you can't prove who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, why would you want to come and vote anyway? So people just aren't going to go to the polls if they're illegal.
Yeah.
If they have to show an ID and they know that everyone's watching.
Yeah.
So if there's a place you have to show your ID, like the liquor store or the grocery store, if you happen to be buying cigarettes, anyone could be watching there. I don't have an ID. You're not going to even go and try to buy it if you don't have the ID. You're
Right.
going to automatically contract someone else to go in and buy it for you.
Right. Yeah. If I couldn't find my driver's license, I would just know that I have no proof that I'm over 21 besides I don't even have anything like my gray hairs, but people can go gray when they're 16. So I have no proof. So
yeah. And it doesn't matter, but you wouldn't go and try to make a purchase that requires an ID. You would say, yeah, you go make the purchase for me. I'll pay you back. Don't worry about it. And someone else will go in the store and make the purchase and bring it out to you.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's done.
Yeah.
So are we making any progress? I don't know.
So you told me
Understanding.
you visited a No Kings rally and you spoke to one person. And
right.
Since you spoke to that one person, do you believe that you know the the mind of all the people?
There were three or four. Four people were standing there talking. We were talking in the group, and then one of them, I walked with her back to the car as she was continuing to say what she was saying, and she just got off work, and so I was impressed that they all came there independently. So I do agree, they all came there independently, but there was a plan for them to meet. The signs, she didn't have a sign. She was holding a sign that someone else took.
Mm-hmm.
So there was someone that brought the sign. Someone was responsible for the signage.
Mm-hmm.
Or a group of people, or a number of them. She just got back in her car and drove off, and I don't know anyone that will talk long enough of that mindset to do that. She was that mindset.
That
There
you
you go.
don't
See,
know
you
anyone of
catch
that
me again
mindset. There's a them that you have just,
to talk long enough.
yeah, all of them will not talk long enough. I'm sure that you can find a handful that will talk long enough. I think I think you are placing all of them into a box of people that are only angry and will only talk with their talking points and will not carry on any sort of conversation.
Okay. And so, in order to know that that is true, you would have to test it.
You would.
It would have to be tested with all 1.2 million people
Yeah,
that have that in that they complex.
you would. You would have to. And would you stop at some point and say, okay, I can see that they all think different things from each other? Like at some point, would it be obvious, or would you have to test all 1.2 million of them in order to believe that they all have their own reasons and they are not all being led with a carrot and a stick by one person, one entity, hypothetical,
One puppet master.
one puppet master?
They're all, yeah. Um, would anything change my understanding? That's what, if I talk to 10 people and I was able to talk with them for 2 hours,
And let's say
and
5 of those 10 people were bussed in by some outside group and paid $500 each to be there for that whole day. Let's say 5 of them were, but the other
okay,
5 were not. Would that change your mind? Would that change anything about what you think about them?
I don't know if that really changes the scenario at all. I'm not concerned about the fact that they're individuals. They are individuals. Certainly they are. Everyone that goes to a football game may have different reasons to be there. Like you're saying, they're not all cheering for the same team even, but they're in the arena. Maybe some of them aren't cheering for any team. They're just going with the girl with them. And maybe she's not cheering for a team. She just, whatever reasons, there's all kinds of reasons. So that doesn't help the reason the game is there. So what my biggest question is, why would you have the football stadium in the first place? And that's what I'm arguing against.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got a stadium that attracts people, and whatever reason they're attracted, they're all of the same mindset, spectator sport. So it's the spectator sport. It's the protest. It's the understanding. And everyone there would have roughly the same opinion on that spectator sport. We believe that it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're participating because we don't believe it's evil. Those who believe it's evil of us will not go to that spectator sport arena.
Yeah.
Even if the girl that you like is going to go there. So is that a valid us, them?
The people at the game and the people not at the game.
Yeah, the people that don't participate, the abstainers from spectator sports.
And do they abstain
Or the participants
because
in
they
it.
hate the game or because they are just not available?
Well, if there all kinds of other reasons. They might just work all the time, or maybe they're afraid of the bomb going off where there's 60,000 people in one place. So they're never going to be around large crowds of people. They're just, I don't like, or I'm anxious. If I get more than 5 people in a group, I'm not going to be there. So you got those people.
Yeah.
But the other ones that just say it's senseless. I'm not going to pay my $32 to get into a facility with 60,000 other people.
Yeah. We have the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday.
Yeah.
And we looked up how much the tickets cost, and the cheapest tickets cost $4,500. The average ticket
Wow.
price is like between 7,500 and 8,000. That's
Yeah.
medium seats are $8,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so I will intentionally abstain from attending that football game any year unless I can get in free. If I win a contest,
Unless someone,
I'm going.
yeah. Well, if someone that owns the box invites you, you'd probably go,
Yeah.
because you've got the sponsors and the stadium owners and those people that have a box and they can invite 20 people.
Yeah.
So you could be invited for free. You don't have to buy your ticket.
Yeah. As Donald Trump mentioned in his Art of the Deal book that he had box seats to a game or something, a
Okay.
season box seats to some something, and he had to give away like all of the tickets. He was always handing them out to his friends and stuff because he was too busy to ever attend. Anyway,
Yeah, he couldn't get there. So you have to have someone fill the box because you paid for it.
you paid for
You're
it.
sponsoring. I was just thinking, even your local university has the box seats area and the football stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking at some point, it wouldn't be bad to buy that, buy a box, and you've got your 10 seats that you can share around with whoever you want to invite to the game.
Yeah.
So if I were to be a spectator sport, that's the way I would participate in it, as I would appreciate having the box, the area that then you invite people to.
Yeah. That's just you and your
from
anti-crowd.
from a company's
I wonder if that's why you
right.
you hate the protest idea so much, is because you're so anti-crowd anyway.
I'm anti-crowd. Yeah. Um, yeah, like any event that I go to, there's always empty seats somewhere. I move from the seat I was assigned to where there's space.
Yeah.
I'll sit where there's space. You can hear just fine in any facility.
Uh-huh.
And they rarely fill up completely unless it's the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't get in, or some major, well, I don't know, almost every major sport now. There's the good teams are always full.
Yeah.
So depends on who you're following,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So did we fall off of the conversation? I like that. I like your analogy to the game. That did trigger a change in my mind about the whole game, the system, the game of going to a protest, of having protests. Were there any protests that were actually game changers? That actually affected a change in the system as a whole.
So does it matter that there were 100 people or 1,000 people at this location? Did it make an effect?
Yeah. Do you know? I know Martin Luther King Jr. was all about peaceful protests, and eventually the majority of the country now treats darker skinned people the
Was it
same as lighter skinned people as a result of that, I think.
See,
But
no, the question is, was it the result of that or the fact that they just finally read the Declaration of Independence and understood it? So it wasn't the protests that were trying to make people understand all men are created equal. Men and women, people, transgender are created equal. You've got all kinds of different things. But you have, I don't know that the protests affected that at all.
So we're venerating a man, giving him a whole day every year as a national holiday and closing the banks, and he didn't even do anything. He was just a squeaky wheel.
Well, is that all? That's all protests are, a squeaky wheel. They're trying to be more noisy, more attention gathering, so that you can pay attention to what necessarily needs to be seen. Does that help? So that was a question. Does it help? Did it help that there were protesters on Harvard's campus in Oxford and
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
On the National Mall when Martin Luther King made his famous "I Have a Dream" speech that he just made up at the moment. You know, that I have a dream. I mean, that made a difference. The words he said, that everyone knows that phrase, and it means something to everybody, or it can mean something to everyone. But that didn't change. That in itself didn't change anything.
A related question is, does writing your congressman, your senator, and your governor, writing them letters about how you individually want them to vote on an issue or a bill or something, does that change anything either? Do they listen to you? Do they listen to the people? Or do they do whatever they want?
Even if they tally them all together. So if they get one letter and one letter says, you know, I like orange Jello and not green. That doesn't mean anything. One person. Even if 1,000 people, 10 million people write in and say, this is my opinion on this, and they tally it together, he's still going to make his own decision. That's the representative democracy we live in. He's the representative. His decision is going to be made. And if he's swayed, he or she is swayed by the millions of people saying what they say, rather than logic, using his own logic in the situation, then it doesn't. That's democracy. That's just rule of the majority.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the wrong move. So it's the wrong move to listen to protesters. The right move is to do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's logically makes sense, that it's under your understanding, your full understanding. So a protest that comes up trying to be heard, they'd be better off if you did a debate, if they just had a discussion. And so that's why, I guess that's the way I would use protest. That's what we've been talking about too, is talk with each other.